Merry Christmas everyone, and welcome to this new episode of Hit the Tone. What's up guys, I hope you're doing fantastic today and welcome to this new episode of Hit the Tone on Thomann's Guitars and Basses. If you're not familiar with the format yet, what I do is take bits of famous songs and try to give you all the tools you need to hit the tone. The cool thing is you get to choose what song I'm covering next. Just put it down in the comment section and I'll get to you as soon as I possibly can. And while you're down there, if you can consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, that helps me out a lot. So thank you very, very much in advance. And with that said, let's jump into today's episode, which is our Christmas special and is I'll Be Home for Christmas by Bing Crosby. A bit of a change from our usual program. None of you guys obviously asked for that particular song, but it is Christmas, it is a jolly time, so we needed some sort of a jolly song, and that is one of my favorite, guitar-wise at least. It was originally written by Bing Crosby and then later on covered or tributed or what have you by the likes of Frank Sinatra, Michael Bublé, of course, and every time these guys would be accompanied by the craziest jazz guitar players. Just a little bit of a disclaimer, I'm working on the progression, I wanted a nice sound out of it, but I'm not really basing that sound off of anything. It's just a really cool, clean jazz sound with a little bit of a twist to it. So we're gonna get into that, starting with our guitar for the day. That beautiful Gretsch, the Broadcaster guitar. I mean, it looks the part, right? It's Christmassy. Got some red, got some green, got some sweater. It's itchy, super itchy. But yeah, I think that guitar will be beautiful. These are humbuckers, very low output, so they kind of lend themselves really well to that kind of playing. I'll be pulling back on the tone knob just a little bit because, you know, jazz. And I'll be running that into a few pedals and an amp, and we're gonna talk about this just now. So again, I'm not really basing this sound off of any particular version of it. I'm just really looking for that warm, very rich, low-end jazz guitar sound, which I really love. So as usual, I'll be going into my Fender Hot Rod Deluxe Tweed Edition. The controls will be on your screen, and it is a very nice, clean amp anyway, so I think it'll lend itself really well for that style. And I'll be using two pedals today, which are the Ultraphonics Overdrive by Vertex, which is right now not used as an overdrive per se, but mostly as a volume boost, as a texture sort of thing that's gonna make the amp work a little bit harder and definitely bring something, some body to the EQ. And I'll be running that into the Strymon Flint with the 60s mode on the reverb, everything at noon, because I like reverb, and some harmonic trem, because I like harmonic trems. No other reason whatsoever. Turning everything on will take us there. Again, not basing that off of anything really, but more of what jazz kind of sounds to me and just adding some effects that I particularly like. If you don't have a trem, don't use a trem. If you like a different kind of reverb, if you maybe want to put some really slap back short delay on that, that probably work as well. Nothing is really anchored in the gear for this one. It's mostly about finding a sound that inspires you to play. And I'm going to have a look at this in the final part of that video, which as usual is the most important and is how to play the song. As per usual, disclaimer time here. If you have a look in the description box down below, you will find a link to everything that I'm using today, as well as a link to the tabs for this song if you want to spend some more time learning the chord progression. I am tuned in E standard, nothing fancy there, and we're just going to jump straight in and having a look at our fretting hand. Now it is, we can call it jazz. It is jazz, but it's not that complicated of a chord arrangement. Like some of the shapes are a bit odd. If you're starting with guitar, you're definitely not going to be familiar with all of them, but it's a really great middle ground introduction to jazz sort of a thing with triads, 7 diminished chords. There's a little bit of everything without being overly complicated, because there's so many versions of that song, and like in particular the Michael Bublé version, the guitar player that goes with him, is just like his arrangement of this is so much more complicated. But yeah, this is sort of a middle of the road kind of arrangement of these chords. Let's just have a look at the picking side of it. Now, the picking side of it is definitely not as complicated as the fretting is going to be. These are some odd shapes, but the picking is fairly straightforward. What you really want to pay attention to with that kind of sound setup is that you're going to be hearing a lot of unwanted noises. You pull muting where you shouldn't, you scraping a string where you shouldn't. With such a clean sort of open sound, it's an open door to a lot of issues. So you want to be as precise as you can with your picking hand, and obviously work the shapes, the chord shapes, independently, first from one another, and then trying to put them all together. And I'm sure that's not going to be an issue for you guys. There's also the notion of tempo, obviously, when you're playing something that's been written just for guitar and voice, or maybe for keys and voice, you maybe not as bound to the idea of tempo, and that's that kind of sound, definitely. You can learn the song to a click to work on the chord changes. That's a really good first step. But once you're comfortable with it, don't hesitate to take that kind of thing to a different place, and not as bound to a specific tempo, but maybe more in relation to how the singer is performing and how you're performing, singing, and the kind of emotion you want to put in there by putting accents, slowing down here, speeding up there. That kind of freedom is really, really liberating for that kind of song, because it really helps you take the chords to, where you want them to be. But with that said, I think that's it, guys. You have all the tools you need to hit the tone on I'll Be Home for Christmas by Bing Crosby. As usual, thank you so very much for watching. I hope you appreciated that episode. It's a bit of a special one, obviously. If it's your first one here, we do other stuff as well. There's going to be some metal, there's going to be some rock, there's going to be a bit of everything, and you get to choose what comes next. Just put it in the comment section and I'll get to you as soon as I can. And again, I wish you all a fantastic Christmas, fantastic holiday, whatever celebration there is. It's been a year almost already since we started the format, and I'm really grateful right now. 'Tis the season to be grateful, but I'm really grateful for your support, for your comments, for everything that you've brought me, and just keeping the format alive. So thank you all very much. Have a great holiday, and I'll see you next Monday in a new episode of Hit the Tone.